Okay, this is your Hy-Vee fortune cookie reveal. I got two of them. I got one for me and one for you. Go fast to save time here on my. A good deed will make you feel good. Okay, here's a quick assessment of Harmony Bend's Strawn Park, Columbia, Missouri. Probably the most versatile course I've played. Multiple pin placements. Some have 4. They've added gold on many of the holes. It's surprisingly fair. It's got all the amenities. It's got a porta potty. It's got great signage. I played it by myself. I did not lose one disc. Although I did throw one in the water on hole 18 that I had to shed some clothing and get. So I was baptized today at Harmony Bend. Well, yeah, John Houck, probably one of his best. This is an epic hole, par 5, 996. As you can see, it's the 3 levels. This is the big boy pad, which is an incredible shot with options. You go up the middle. If you're a lefty, you can take this big. I'm gonna try this one out because I see a big old lefty hyzer with a flippy disc. Go down here. This is the white. Three, 936, par 5. And down there, 904. Wow.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Watch the Fling Show live on YouTube Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central Time. But the original Mockingbird mold nailed it.
Yeah, that was the first one that was put in my hand at Bear Branch. Travis says it was somewhere else, but I swear my memory is Bear Branch. I'm keeping that memory, Travis. You can't have it. So he hands me this unmarked, unstamped, nothing on it. Perfectly tooled back when I call them zippy. It's before they kind of sanded the mold, and they had kind of.
Oh yeah, I had one of those.
Yeah,
it's a little bit. It's actually a slightly wider rim on the front. Yeah, those were nice.
And they were zippy, you know, because when you let them go, and just like they're penny putters in that same plastic. My fingernails, because I play guitar, my fingernails would make like an album sound like that. Exactly.
I know.
There you go.
They were zipper topped.
and those things were, I don't know what happened. Chris has a couple, I think, on the wall, but
I wish I
had 2 of them. I threw them until they were gone, and
I still have mine. I wish I known you were going to bring them up. I'd have brought it.
That was the start.
Open the pod bay doors, Phil. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Well, all right, folks, you know what time it is. It's 8 o'clock and it's Fling Show time tonight. I'm Chris McClung, your co-host. We're still waiting for my other wonderful co-host who we get to see what happened on his wonderful staycation that he just got to go on over these last 4 days. Can't wait to see Mr. Himmerline coming on here in just a few minutes. But until then, we have a few things we got to go over. First, we've got to thank our sponsors, Lone Star Disc. Amazing things are being done. They have got an Ace Race challenge that's going to be held out at Lone Star Disc Distribution Center as well. That's coming up in a couple weeks. You can sign up, play as many times as you like. It's $5 per round, 2 shots per hole. And it's all to see if you can hit the basket, hit the ace. And they got some special discs that they're going to be putting out for prizes as well. The new Artemis won't even be released yet, but 5 of those lucky winners will be able to get one of those inside their hands during that ace race. So once again, thank you, Lone Star Disc, for everything that you do for the Fling Show, and especially everything you do around the Conroe and the Woodlands, Texas area. Now, what a weekend we had. My goodness, I'm fairly sure that most of y'all who watched last week's show saw that it was abruptly cut short. Unfortunately, right when that happened, after Matt just said, hey, there's some really bad winds, it hit our house really bad, my neighbor's house, trees falling down. So I hope everybody else is okay. We only had tree damage, thank goodness. No home or car damage, except for my neighbor's car that had been sitting on the road for a long period of time. So that may be something that was just sheer luck to get that thing moved anyway. But hopefully everybody else survived this amazing storm that blew in last weekend while we were on live. I do apologize that we couldn't come back on because there was just no power. And we were out it till the next day until 5 o'clock. But that did not stop us from going out this weekend and doing part 3 of the minor league disc golf tour. And yes, it was the 2 prayers and a putt where sinners become saints. We held that at the Grace Point Disc Golf Course in the beautiful part of Magnolia, Texas. Luckily, they didn't have any damage on that course. Unfortunately, there has been some damage to Spring Valley. If y'all have not heard, please go check that out. A lot of people helped out this weekend and this week to get trees removed. Matt Stillwagon, Justin Holman, just to name a few. Thank you guys for getting out there to help Andy. Amazing damage on that course, but she's getting it back up and running, and hopefully by next Tuesday, league will resume out there for disc golf, but golf is already available. But once again, of course, just took a big hit. So the next time you go to Spring Valley, going to be completely different than the last time that you saw it. However, let's get back to the 2 prayers and a putt. My goodness gracious. For anybody who went out there this weekend, I applaud you. It was some kind of hot. And I'm from Texas, and I know hot, and that was hot. 2 rounds out at Grace Point. Luckily, that first round, we had a lot of clouds. It was nice. It was cool. Good round. We had quite a few people show up for this part 3, more than we had show up the previous 2. So it was nice to see everybody out there. And after round 2 was over, as you can see, oh, you should be able to see. Where's that thing? I got it somewhere. At least I thought I had it somewhere. Well, let me go see if I can find it. Anyway, we did have some winners out there. Connor won the MA3. Then we also had Charles Mayo winning MA1. You also had Freddie Mays that showed up and took the Open Division in a spirited battle against Daniel Pineda. And the 40s division winner was Samuel Price again. So congratulations to all the winners. The points are up for you to look at online. You can see the standings for those Prodigy disc golf baskets. They're going to be given away at the end to the winner. So you can still have enough time to go in there and get you some points and hopefully win yourself one of those baskets as well. But we move on from there because we have big things going on. First, we're going to talk about, for all us old people, don't call it a throwback. That's going to be our PDGA B tier at Shawshank Disc Golf Course. That's going to be in September. Get yourself signed up. disc golf scene is already accepting reservations as we speak, along with the fact that we also have another big event coming up. Last year, you can see these two winners right here. Sometimes I don't even need to tell you what the name of this tournament is, because I think this picture's worth 1,000 words, and it'll probably tell you exactly what this tournament is. But let's have a little fun with it anyway, because this weekend, not this weekend, but the following weekend, we have a PDGA C tier that is going to be held at Stonebridge Disc Golf Course and Bear Branch Disc Golf Course. This is the PDGA C tier. It's called the Table Setter. The Table Setter for a reason, because what this is going to be setting the table for also is, if they'd like to participate as the month goes along, we are going to be having our handicap open. Yes, the return of the handicap open. You can see our first two winners. Enough said. It kind of says with the pictures, you can tell what type of tournament this is going to be. It's going to be a blast. I loved it last year because it allows the lower ranked players to play with the higher ranked player by gaining a handicap, in which you will earn playing both Bear Branch and Stonebridge a week from next Saturday. So get yourself signed up. That's also available on Disc Golf Scene, PDGA C tier, at two of our funner courses in the Woodlands, both Stonebridge and Bear Branch. Cannot wait for that. I love these two guys. Also, Brandon Martin won last year's division, came in second, I believe. And then you had Glenn Hall coming in first place. It's going to be a blast. We also have coming up, that's already ready to go, registration signups available for the Southern Star Duo. This is sponsored by Lone Star Disc. And it's at your two favorite courses in Conroe, Texas, Lily and McDade. This is going to be a B tier as well. It is December the 2nd, and sign up is ready to go. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Lone Star Disc and Southern Star Brewery, for supporting this wonderful event. It is a B tier again, the last one of the year. Signups are already open, and the signups have already started. So don't wait. Get yourself a spot. It's going to be a blast. And as we all know, December in Texas typically is one of the best times to be outside, because the weather's just beautiful here at that time. So get yourself signed up. Now, let's see what else we have. Oh, big news for over this weekend, and especially for those of y'all who play in the state of Texas, if you're playing this summertime, get yourself hydrated. Big problem that we had over this weekend was hydration. While supplying plenty of water for all the players to drink, sometimes it's not about what you drink on that day. It's how you drink the day before, leading up to any tournament that you play. So 24 hours before you're about to go outside, especially in this Texas heat for any extended period of time, get yourself hydrated starting 24 hours beforehand. Just a little warning for that. Because I can tell you one person who did not do it last weekend, and that was this person. Excuses I had a lot of them, but none of them good enough to not to get hydrated, because it really puts yourself in the vicarious position to get out there in this heat. So please, please, please heed that. This is Texas. We know it's hot. Nobody's immune to it. So make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're watching others that are out there as well, to make sure that they too are okay. Checking up on them, making sure that everybody's drinking water. Make sure everybody's kind of teaming up on that. So we're still waiting for David right now. I see he's on here. There he is. All right. Well, this is the man that just took this huge tour all the way, I guess it's to Kansas and through Missouri, got to stop and play some beautiful courses. And I cannot wait to hear all about them, because those pictures you sent back were majestic. I would have loved to throw some of those shots. Dave, how did it go for you out there?
Show more than you wanna know. Let's go listen to the Fling Show.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm doing fabulous. My goodness gracious, you're a man who puts in a lot of miles in a short amount of time. How was your trip? Tell us all about it.
Oh man, it was good. A lot of driving, a lot of music, a lot of disc golf. Played I played I guess 27 holes on the day before we drove back. Oh, actually we drove halfway after that, and then woke up, came back early that morning. That was the second to the last day was in Columbia, Missouri. Um, that round right there, that was a course close to Wyandotte or in Wyandotte County. Waco was my favorite Friday night tournament. And these guys actually at Olathe and then out there just all around, these were part of, there were, I guess, six of us. And Loomis, the guy in the middle there, named us the Sexy Mandos. And we made shirts, and you've never seen the shirt either. But we did the course that I jokingly said, I want to, he said, where do you want to play? And I was like, somewhere that has a lot of par twos. And that's about my speed right now, you know. But he led me to this course, and it's a great example of, you know, courses that are springing up everywhere. And this is one of them. Really cool course. Let's see. Not sure if we're looking at one of.
I think that's Harmony, if I'm
That's
not
Harmony,
mistaken.
yeah. But you know, it's North. I think it's called North Park there in Kansas, and that'd be out there close to Wyandotte County, Waco course. That had a lot of great experiences out there. But yeah, let's talk about Strawn Park, Harmony Bends. I thought about it a lot afterwards, just kind of breaking down what the course was telling me. I threw the tumbleweed. I know it's, you know, old guy, weenie arm and everything, but I threw the tumbleweed on every shot, it seemed like. And that's a testament to John's design, because, you know, I was telling Presley this, and at a course like this, you don't want your discs to be swinging left and right. You want them to get up and go straight for a long way. And so this course, it would be so good to watch live. I don't know how good they could film it live, but it's just a whole bunch of really long canopy shots, if that makes any sense. So it looks all wooded and tight, but it's very fair on off the drive, and especially for the 300-foot thrower. You could just pick your way down this course. And so it plays in for like a James Conrad, or you know, somebody who can get around the course. And it's very fair, and definitely versatile. I mean, if I played all the whites, I just kind of played the one that looked the most fun, and I didn't throw a lot of extra shots. I was trying to conserve energy in Chris McClung style. Just if I get in the fairway, just go, kind of thing. And I was worried about losing them because I lost, you know, one in the creek, the very first hole. I think I misspoke on the videos at 18, but it was the first hole, second throw. And I threw it in this little creek, but man, those little creeks get deep, and I saw it going down. So I said, well, I'm going in. So I got baptized first hole. But just like Northside Christian having really two cool signature-ish holes, 1 and 18, this one has the same thing. But it has this menacing creek 3 times.
Is it that one right there?
Yeah. It actually wasn't too bad. But yeah, that's the second, or I guess that's the first time you see the creek right there on hole 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes down again from left to right, and then it finishes at the green. So you can get in it theoretically 3 times. I just went for 2. So I got in it twice and took a 7 from the middle placement. I think that's the whites. So and then on from there, just a series of really cool fair holes, and then you'll come to this hill, and you saw the long shots of the hill and walking. So you know, one of the signature ones is the one going up, and so your upshot is 30 feet up, and to make it stand, or if you play from the short box, you can get it there. But again, I'm throwing a tumbleweed. You know, it's not just mid-range type, or a kind of kind of would think it'd be like a good lariat course. And I guess probably if I played it more, I'd probably throw the lariat more. Because I did get in trouble with the big wing driver, but I just felt really comfortable with that tumbleweed. It's just so nice of a glide and just easy to throw. I just kept throwing it. So I think I've kind of found a disc that I really like. The Harriet is a great roller, but it gets up too quick and rolls over too fast. But so continuing from last week, we're talking about Lone Star hopefully getting more flip up type stuff. That's a good one. And so if we kind of transfer that to the mid range concept, that same flip up shot, I haven't found that disc yet. Like a nice turnover mid. No, that's not a BB6, but I did throw the BB6 a lot and had a lot of good luck with that one. The last course I played was in a place called Cottleville, Missouri, and this would be south of St. Louis, I guess, and very close to St. Charles, which is where my destination was. And just a little funky little course somebody set up, and with really good signage, and just randomly found this little course. It's nice, so that was my experience. And that was kind of the end of disc golf there at that college course in Cottleville. I can't remember the name of it, but
I have a question about that. The elevated shots the one that you videoed, that was 936 feet with the two ways to go, one straight and one with that hyzer from the left-hand side. Lefty.
Beautiful.
Did that course kind of play like what they, us in Texas being flatlanders, and our humidity and air is completely different typically. So when I was told to go to Colorado, they kept telling me, take your most understable disc because it will be much more stable to overstable, which was true when I started throwing there. Did you find that same thing to be evident? Because when you're throwing that tumbleweed, that tends to be an understable disc. Was it reacting and acting more stable because of that elevation?
Yeah, I'm going to say probably not. I thought about it, but I think it's not as much elevation as what you get in Colorado. And I think it really matters, a few more couple of 50 feet or whatever matters in terms of what it does to the disc. So I think it's minimal as to the effect that it has on out there, I'm guessing. Because I did play a lot in St. Louis, and I played in Columbia. Actually, there's a city course that I played where they used to have the Mid-America. I think they played at that one, and can't remember the name of that course, but I never noticed it. So I would say probably not as high,
Now let's now move to the amazing video you captured at the tournament itself. I mean, what was that like? I mean, just like I said, we love fun, Hemi, and it looked like they were having a ton of it.
Yeah, they were on top of it. They had the thing that was called the hives, and people dress up like bees with little things on their head. and I'm like, okay, this is it's crazy. I watched, I'd paid for the day before, and it got canceled. And so when I saw that going on, I had weather happening, and I saw it kind of happening, and it was already kind of getting late. So I checked, and I was like, oh, they canceled it. And I was already on my way from St. Louis to Des Moines. I was already almost there. So I ended up getting the room, and they honored my thing for the next day. And so I got to catch some of the female FPO, really the spectacle. Right after that, I went and played with my buddies and in Kansas City, and they were like, so what'd you see? And I said, well, nobody knew me, and I didn't know anybody else. That'll give you a kind of an idea of what I saw. It was a spectacle outside of what I was used to. But my friend put up an interesting perspective on it, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. One of the things I wanted to talk about. He said it's not like pickleball, though. It's not that kind of sensation, because the people there are disc golfers, and it's still, we haven't really, and because we have Disc Golf Network, well, all the subscribers are disc golfers. and play tournaments. And so then the people that come and watch are kids of people that watch and play tournaments, and it really hasn't expanded outside of our own little group. So in comparison to his comparison was pickleball and how it's just taken off. And then so disc golf is sort of in its own little bubble per se. So I thought about that a little, and I was thinking, well, golfers come and watch golf. There are people outside of the sport that don't play that would come watch golf, but that's an interesting angle, I thought. But anyway, long story short, I spent about 4 holes and watching the girls, and kind of got a feel for it, and I just peeled off on hole 8. And it's a long hole downhill. It's the one that Tatar hits that putt from the weeds from about 60 feet or so. And so I just took a left, and there's a dirt road, and I walked back up and left. I got my feel of it. I watched about 5 or 6 holes, and the way they have it designed at Pickard, first of all, one of my favorite courses. And I heard an interesting stat about Burr. His putting stats weren't all that great. And, but his tee to green was phenomenal in his scrambling. And, that's what you do out there. You place yourself for an upshot, and then you deal with the wicked greens, because there's always something about the green that, and some of those misses, if they were to miss, they're gonna struggle to make the comeback. That's just the way it's designed, the way you approach. But it also designed for somebody who's really good from 300 feet and in, really solid. And that's what it proved out with Burr. And that's what I was seeing from the females. But I had one more thought about the Pro Tour, and didn't want to get too much into it. But if you want to ask me more about Pickard, we can talk about that. But
well, I just want to talk about that one hole. How long was that water carry to that?
I'm guessing about 350 for them, and they push it back for the men. I think there's another tee box, I think, just to the right. If I'm facing the green, it would be to my right, upper right. I think. I couldn't be wrong.
Wow, that's a wicked carry, especially depending on the winds, I'd imagine, out there as well.
It was getting it. It was getting it too, and except for right there in that pocket, where that basket was placed. And that, interestingly, they made a whole bunch of changes to Pickard, not really structural, but just little things here and there, added a new fun little hole. But 18 used to finish right there where that island, or that little island shot. I guess that is an island shot, a spectator shot. And it's just such a great, because you come in from the parking spot and walk down half a block, I'd say 100 feet, and you're at the spectator area. And they have a little person to take your ticket, and they have all that stuff. But then you're already looking at it when you pull up, and it's a nice, downhill view. It's like a little amphitheater. And then they got they have the stadium seats up, and just a lot of fun, what they've done. But my thought was about the FPO, watching them every weekend. They're I think where MPO was 10 years ago. So they got about 5 really good players. And then there's a whole bunch that are just like, they're not really going to excel to that level yet. And so maybe some more Elaine Kings come in, and youngsters come in and pick it up, but it's going to take time. And so I just sort of got that comparison in my mind when I was watching, because the MPO, Chandler might win one, Burridge could do it, and people like that. And then you saw it a couple weeks ago. I think it was it DDO? Anyway, that kid, 110 rated player, wins easily, start to finish pretty much. So you don't see that in the FBO.
Mm-mm.
It's Missy and everybody chasing Tatar.
I kind of sent you, I don't know if you got to read that post that Mr. Mikey Siebert that I sent to you. Did you get a chance to peruse that at all?
No, which one?
Okay, well, it's a long read, and if you have it, it's not a question I want to ask you at this time because I think that you'd like to be much more prepared for it. But it definitely deals with the subject of the FPO and tournaments, and this one just happens to deal with the Kentucky State Championship and how that tournament director decided to run his event. So when you get a chance, you might peruse that. And for our viewers who are listening this evening, if you've not been aware of what's going on with that, and the ladies as well, I think it's worth your attention, if not worth your time. I'm not saying it's worth your outward expression, because everybody has their own emotions and feelings, and we don't do negative here on this show. And that's not what I'm saying, but I do think it's a pivotal point where you're seeing some structural concerns for those who are actually running the event and the PDGA itself and their responsibilities behind those tournament directors and the support in which they receive. So if you ever get a chance, do check that out. Like I said, I'm not the other part of this is really not my we don't talk about that here on our show, but it did kind of, I wanted to get your opinion about what you thought about the tournament director.
I did kind of read quickly what Mikey and Matt were saying about that TD canceling the FBO and sort of heading off the potential problems that might be had. Was digging into the story, was he informed that Natalie would be there? Or
well, once again, she lives next to the next state over.
Okay.
And yes, most likely she would be participating.
Yeah.
Or they.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be rude.
That's...
I'm not trying to be rude. So they, she, whatever Natalie likes to be called. But yeah, that was more this. I think what I was gathering, like I wasn't really going down that road as much as I was thinking about the legality that the tournament directors are put in. And, you know, we run events, and that's something that you've done, I've done. And it is kind of one of those quagmires right now that I think that it may be forcing the head, you know, the issue to come to a head as well, because to put it off on the tournament directors when they're just following rules, yet receiving, you know, uncomfortableness from outside sources who are not even participating in the event, who had no desire to participate in the event, but are there to make it a public spectacle. I can see why tournament directors would be shying away from that controversy, because you're putting them in a spot of trying to make a choice when it's really not their choice in the first place. It's another governing body whose choices make those decisions, and we as tournament directors have to follow guidelines and rules, which he has done here, yet it still put him in a vicarious position of some let's just say not so happy people. But I just kind of wanted to get your feelings, what you thought about, you know, tournament directors and their responsibilities more so.
I wouldn't want to be one. But no, I mean, I appreciate everything that they do, and I know that's a hot button issue, and you know, I think he did what the best of his powers enabled him to do.
Yeah.
And a smart move. I mean, really, you know, if you don't want to deal with it, and you're not making a statement. It's not like you're putting something on a Bud Light can.
No.
It's like you're just saying, hey, I don't want to deal with it. And I can respect that. And
he's using the PDGA's guidelines and words as they see fit, which is that it is M is not male. It does not stand for male, has been changed, and it does stand for mixed. And that doesn't eliminate someone from participating in the event. However, it does just eliminate a specific division for certain competitors to compete in. And I think that there's the crux of the issue, you know, is that it's taken away, as we know, the FPO division, and just said, hey, if you want to play mixed. And that's hard for a pro, because a pro who is rated FPO pro, who may be rated 890, who can play in the FPO pro, they're not going to be able to really play in the MPO Pro because their rating's not high enough.
No, and I listened to Tatar's interview with Yuli and what's his name, and I liked what she had to say about that.
Can you preface what she said?
Yeah, she was
Remind
just
the
talking.
viewers.
They were pulling out of her basically, what do you think about Natalie Ryan doing this? Basically, that's what the whole, they were getting her opinion if she wanted to say something about it, and she did. She said, "Well, let me just say this." She said, "There are probably maybe one silver series that I might be able to make the cash line." And that's pretty much what she had to say.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the best player in the world.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't say that part, but that's what she was saying.
But she is the best player in the world.
Yeah. Then she finished it by saying, I probably wouldn't cash at an MPO event.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, she just sort of left that gray area, but that's kind of the way I look at it. It's, ideally, Natalie would come to realize that, being the person that tries to legally bring down disc golf, probably not a good idea. I mean, that's just, I'm just looking at it from a logical standpoint, and it'd be nice to have this sort of aha moment and then everything's great. But there's a legal precedent that has to take place because it's not just Natalie.
Right.
There's a lot of people want to play with the FPO. I want to play with the FPO. I want to see how I could do. I want to shoot that island shot, but I'm not going to go and do that. But right. I do honor, and I'm all inclusive about things, but some things are beyond that and more into the realm of logic.
And I appreciate you putting it that way. And I had a conversation with someone about this the other day, and I wanted to preface it first by what concerns me the most is that we're athletes. Hemi, you and I both are athletes. We've been athletes pretty much our whole lives since our friends would come knock on our door and not make us, but say, hey, let's go play something. So we've been athletic since we were children. We've been athletes since we've gotten to junior high and high school level and up into college, if those of us who were fortunate enough to have any college athletic experience whatsoever. So what has always concerned me is that this conversation strays away from athletics and it becomes into emotional and feelings for some people. And so I prefer, as always, to handle this as an athlete, not as a feelings person, not as my emotions person, and not as a thought person. And I think what you just said is true. We understand what is right. We understand and know physically that 7-year-old baseball players don't play with 15-year-old baseball players. There's a reason why there's a separation. There's a talent level separation. There's a lot of separations in ages, right? Well, we also know as we get older, we physically start separating ourselves even more, not only from our friends, but from someone who doesn't have the same attributes, same strength, same speed, same reaction, same coordination. And this is just coming from an athlete. I'm not talking about as a person. I'm just talking about physical being athletes. We understand the, let's just say the advantages that we have. Okay. We have them over our friends in other sports, basketball, for instance. You take the best 5. There's a school of 400, maybe 100 kids come show up to go play, but you take the best 5 and those best 5 because they beat everybody else. And there's a reason why they beat everybody else, because they're better at what they do. And so if that separation happens there, it definitely is going to happen in disc golf. And I just think that in the fairness of the sport, we need to understand that, and there needs to be that separation needs to be understood and kept. Are there solutions to it? Yes. Does everybody like a solution to something? No. Some people don't want anything fixed and want it to remain the same and just play by those guidelines and rules. Sometimes I'm to the fact of, like, they're already at the table. So why not we just make him a seat at the table, just as we've done for the juniors, just as the Special Olympics did for wheelchair 100-yard dash races. The wheelchair person does not go and race against Usain Bolt in the Olympics. They both are Olympians. They both participate for medals. They both are great at what they do, but it is definitely different, even though the distances are the same, right? So I think that table could be set, whether or not people like that. It's kind of one of those things. It's like they're already here at the table. I don't want to fight them anymore, but I definitely don't like the disadvantages that are given to them, because you and I as athletes know it's not fair. It's just not fair physically. And I'm not saying about anything other than just being an athlete. It's not fair.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I'll leave it at that.
Let me answer Mr. Jim McBeast Backus, talking about Paige winning, playing MPO and doing well. And I know back in the day, I think Des played USDGC, Paige played it, and did well. But I thought Kristen's little speech was, I don't know, it was pretty eye-opening, coming from the best player in the world. But yeah, not to knock on what women could do. I'm serious when I said I'd like to play with them, because I'd like to see if I could at least, get a skin here and there, or if I could hang, because I respect what they do. Don't get me wrong, Jim.
Oh, I can't beat them. I'm already. Yeah, I have a hard time beating Andy, and she's
I would say
60.
I'm probably, after what I did at Harmony Bend, probably not going to be beating them. But I played the hole that I thought I could birdie most. I didn't play all the shorts, but yeah, they would definitely tear me up on the green right now. That was kind of where it all went down. But yeah, the other thing was, let's see, we're talking about this thing. So are you suggesting, this is what I was going to ask you, that they have their own division? So in other words, let's make a seat at the table. Is that what you're saying?
It is a solution, not the solution. And know how you and I always have that conversation. It's black and white is very difficult to come by. Sometimes you got to meddle in that gray and figure that part out. It's not easy, and not everybody likes an answer, and people probably don't like that answer. So, but yeah, it's one that I have.
Yeah, I've heard that one. And, at least you could say you're being inclusive, and here's the other side of that. Not every trans person wants to be abrasive. Maybe they want a division. They don't want to get into any other of the politics. If they say, yeah, I just want to play disc golf. So maybe that's the other side of the coin. Maybe there are people out there that want to play. But then what do you start doing? You have like a gay division? Do you have a Christian division? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like that. It's like one of those really tricky things. And that's why it's such a controversial line in the sand for you to say something like that. It's but I get it. There aren't any answers that are completely satisfying. We're in a world of murkiness in our world now. Every sport except for pickleball has legal problems.
I just come from a background of being athlete, and I think that I've always wanted to compete in what is fair, and I know right now at my age, me going and play MPO against 21-year-old and 25-year-old young men is not fair, because they're going to wipe the floor with me. It's
so
not
putting
going to be
alone for me,
Yeah. Well, my putting,
then
so
you got to get off the box.
Go there. But so I mean, we understand what fair is, right? You don't have, now if we got a 60-year-old out there who thinks he's top of the line, he can go play with the 25-year-olds and knock himself out. But I haven't seen a 65-year-old or 60-year-old that could do it yet. So
Johnny McRae will be that guy.
Okay. All right.
This guy had a heart attack and then came back in the same season and won a major.
That's crazy.
So
so I just, I didn't want to get Yeah, I didn't want to get sidetracked on that, but it just seems to be a big issue. And I'm just about being fair for everybody. And while everybody doesn't like being fair for everybody, I understand that too. Some people are like, it's already too convoluted. How many divisions do we already have? We do have a bunch.
Well,
But
I mean, it's something y'all have to think about.
yep.
You and Matt are out there doing it. You're that TD.
Yeah. Well, that's why we did two different formats this year. One to kind of fill out what that second one was going to do and how it was going to be received with the minor league disc golf tour, not being sanctioned by the PDGA, but yet still run with the core values and core systems that they have in place, but kind of defining that part of how that's going to be handled. And it's written into the bylaws of the tour itself. So anybody who participates in it understands what the rules and regulations are beforehand. And that's another thing that, I talked to other people about it. And I think that you agree with this as well as much as anybody else does. But every single sport I've ever played, the rules and regulations have been set out before me. And I knew what they were before I started the sport. And I knew what they were while I was playing the sport. And I accepted those rules and regulations, and I just followed the guidelines. So I don't think that it's much of a problem as long as it needs to be spelled out. And the PDGA needs to take a stand on it. And my whole big concern of it is being a tournament director, I don't want to be hated. I don't want this to be the issue and someone protests what we do, because all we're trying to do is go out and throw something in the air, have fun. That's the whole goal of it. We want everybody to throw something in the air, regardless of your success level. I want you to go out there and have fun and throw something in the air. So it puts us in a tough nut if the PDGA is not going to stand up, because right now the only way that they're standing up is on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. That's where it's kind of been, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to follow the rules. Mm-hmm. And the other ones kind of has a little, like you said, that gray. We're in that gray area. So, we talk about it all the time. It's concerning to us as tournament directors, take that responsibility. That's for sure. Yeah. And then people have these assumptions about you. It's like, man, if you've never met me, then that assumption, I know, doesn't bother me, but it can bother my wife or children or somebody else that's around me. But, I know who I am, so I'm pretty comfortable with that. That as well as anybody, but it's concerning, you know.
And it gets into that, it pulls disc golf into the realm of politics, which is not ever a good meeting.
Amen.
So that's unfortunate. And I don't really have anything else on that matter.
I don't either. So, but I was going to ask you, so you kind of tippy-toed around your dissatisfaction with your performance this weekend while you were playing. It mainly sounds like you're putting as well, but let's kind of get back to a little seriousness of it. Changed your bag. It's got to make it different. You're putting with different putters now. Or are you still using your old putters?
Blue Bonnet. I had I had my, I was down to 2 discs that I hadn't replaced yet. And one was a Fuse and one was an Escape. Both flippy, both working discs that took me years to, 15 years to that Escape. And maybe the same on the other one. But so I had those sitting there and I forgot them. So I ended up at the courses with all Lone Star. And so I was in BB6 for that turn up shot. And then I discovered the lines that John created out there were just great for that tumbleweed, even if it's a roller. It's this ceiling shot, so you don't have a lot of room to work stable discs. And at my arm speed, I wasn't even going to try, so it made my day go easier because I knew I was throwing a flip up disc, and I just kind of got used to that. But it also fit the course because, like I told Presley, it forces you to when you throw a flippy disc on a hyzer, it goes straight, which is what you need for that course. You don't want them to go skipping off left or right because he's designed it. It's evil. I mean, there's like one 160-foot hole. I'm like, oh, finally a birdie hole. and it's up on top of this hill. And so I throw a penny even, so not as stable, and it still took off and just like skipped, and it goes whoosh, over this little thing like 60 feet down this hill. I was like laughing because I knew John Houck would be laughing. He's like, that's what it's designed for, because you had to go like it would probably be a righty zone shot or something like a walker and stable and just crash it in. But if you go too long, it was laughable. But I ended up getting back up the hill and making the putt, so I at least parred the 160 footer. But yeah, I think it went pretty well. I had a really good finish. Like I showed you the card. It just started with a double bogey on a par 5. Went in the water twice. Almost took a snowman.
And then you went bogey, so you were 3 over after
the next
2.
One. Yeah,
yeah, you're 3 after 2, and I was like, "Dang, that's a rough way to start." And then you showed me those holes. I was like, it's gonna be interesting."
Yeah, and then I just kind of kept it together, and I did make a couple putts. I was throwing the blue bonnet mostly, but I did throw. I think the Benny I got the DD plastic Delta 2 or whatever, D2. What is it? I can't remember what the plastic.
Well, the Delta, you have the Delta, which is the new one, but you got the V1 and V2.
Oh, so I'm throwing the Delta.
You're throwing the Delta
Benny, and then I had the blue bonnets. So the Delta, I think, is a little faster. Wouldn't you say? Not quite as stable.
I do. Yes.
So
it's a little firmer. It's a little harder. Yeah, it's a little firmer. It's probably their hardest. I think it's the firmest putter they have. The firmest.
Yeah, I guess probably the Founder. If they had putters in Founder, I don't know if they do.
Yeah, they don't have in that. They had in the Alpha, the Bravo, the V1, V2, and Delta.
It's definitely firm, but it just has a little more glide, faster than the blue bonnet. So I putted with the blue bonnet the whole round, and it was good. It was good enough. I mean, I wasn't too sad about my putting.
Well, I asked you that because, you saw the big guns these last couple of years have been changing manufacturers. You saw, Paul, obviously the biggest, and then Ricky did it, and then Lazat did it. And you see that it did take them a little while to kind of get used to the disc. And I was just wondering if it's kind of discouraged or encouraged you, because, it seems like you might be having a little more fun because of new things and kind of finding new disc.
I love it. I love what Emerson said, stop comparing them to other discs to just see what it does. And once he said that, I had kind of an aha moment. I'm like, yeah, that's I completely unloaded. I had already unloaded my bag, but I was also doing comparisons here and there. And he's just like, see what you need and find the one that does that and throw that. That was sort of what he was saying, and I thought it was pretty wise.
And that's kind of neat. We're like, when you and I had the conversation and you were asking me what to throw, and I finally looked at you and I go, I think, Hemi, if you throw this lariat, this is going to be a good disc for you, because you'd never thrown it before, but I knew the action out of your hand and what it would do for you. And that was kind of neat to watch. And I had that same aha moment with Jordan, who said, stop throwing your lariat on this one hole, because I just kind of kept, turning it a little bit too much and was hitting the edge of the woods instead of coming out quick enough. So then he puts in the tomahawk in my hand, and he goes, aim at that tree right there down on hole 12 on Stonebridge before it curves in. And I mean, he goes, aim at that tree. Him aimed at that tree, and I hit that damn tree solid 200 feet away. He looked at me, goes, I told you. And that's what's kind of neat sometimes when you're with people who A, know your shot, and B, can put that disc in your hand from Lone Star and go, this is what it's going to do for you. Yeah. And that was neat. I really enjoyed that. That was like, man, it was an aha moment. I was like, wow, thanks, Jordan. I appreciate that.
That's good. That was a good call too, putting a lariat in my hand, because I think it's the best, purest disc I've thrown in 20 years. I really do. I think it's one of the most pure, whatever that means. For me, it's like an eagle, like when I was first throwing, just pure straight throwing disc. And it's so fun to throw.
And you're good at those straight shots. And when people go, oh, well, it's always got to fade left or right, I'm like, man, Hemi he can land it where it just lands like it's running down a line. And like you just said, John Houck designed courses that if you don't do that, he's going to punish you.
Yeah, it was really what I really liked about it was, a lot of times a course designer will force an ugly shot to make you uncomfortable. This one forces beautiful lines. It forces you to go, man, if I just open up my fastest flippy disc and it turns right through there, yeah, it's got it. But it also sets up the concept for me of the whole course is to pop it up and get it going straight so that it's not going left and right when it finishes. And that's a beautiful thing to watch. I would like to go and just spectate that course, or just score for somebody and watch how they take it on, because for me, it's like the most fun line was the best line.
It's funny you say that because there's a line that you take that I think is even funner to watch. And I was watching Lazat when he was doing a disc challenge with the AM champion or the junior champion. And it's that backhand flip over shot that curls back to the right. Even though when you throw it, you're releasing it flat, but you're trusting that disc enough to know that no matter what, it's not going to go left on you. It's going to hook up, stand up, and just glide slowly and gently to the right. That, to me, is one of the most beautiful shots in disc golf to execute it, because typically you're trying to take that through some very, very tight lines. And I think that that's what you were talking about, those two discs that you have a hard time replacing, because when I see you with those two discs in your hands, I'm like, it's going to be parked. You have such a control over that shot. And that to me is probably, I don't know, I almost think that's the most difficult shot in disc golf, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying I'm waiting for that disc, and the tumbleweed got in there firmly as far as that disc goes, but I mean it's too fast for what I'm trying to explain.
And you haven't done the lone wolf yet, right?
I have not, and like I said, like I told my guys over there in Kansas, it's probably out there. I just haven't found it. They have so many molds, and
it's the lone wolf. I think the lone wolf is. I'm gonna get you that one. I've got one. Matter of fact, sitting right over here. Next time I see you, because I've got those other discs for you as well that they found. And I think that's gonna be your. Now I don't know about the other two,
Is
but
it
I mean,
mid?
Yeah, it's a mid. It's it almost has the exact same profile as the BB6,
but thicker or wider, because the BB6 is so small diameter wise. If you measure that against like a buzz or a rock.
You ready?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it's right here. So this is the lone wolf. Sorry.
Oh, I like it.
Okay, so here's the thin profile. See if you can see that. You see the profile?
Mm-hmm.
You see it's kind of domey, not too domey.
Like yeah.
Right.
It's a flip up disc.
Right. It's the numbers on it are 55 -3-1.
Okay. Cool.
So I have a feeling this may be that, because I know that Travis throws this thing a lot as well for that shot. Yeah. He does that standstill one as well, and it just pops up and just continues to glide over with that no comeback. I mean, it's just like that nice glide hook. Beautiful shot to have, that's for sure.
Oh, and my one disc I lost, the curl that I was really loving, and I think it was an alpha
curl,
or alpha.
Because I think I may have one for you of that as well.
So it was such a nice. But what I was going to say about that is, this is the first time, and mostly because they don't know me or who I've been in the past 15 years or so. First time where my forehand wasn't talked about. It just happened. I threw the shot and we kept playing, and there was no mention about, oh, you do forehands, nothing. It was just like we're playing disc golf. That was a cool moment for me. It's like when I drove away, it's like we didn't talk about unicorns or anything. I just threw the shot and we played disc golf, and that's right. I'm getting with my forehand. It actually worked every time I used it. A couple times I threw it, a couple there, but I'm getting better at it. I think.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the form. I think in the end, it's just going to be the snap. I think in the end, it's going to.
John Bone pretty much picked it up.
It's your.
And you were
It's
there too.
it's what you always say about the forehand. You know, it's the. I mean, the backhand. It's that last leverage. You like to always talk about the 5 leverage points in that last one, which is your hand and your wrist being cocked and all the way out. The flick is almost the exact same thing. That's the last part. That's the hardest part for people to get down for distance. And that's why everybody's really not bad at it for short distances. Like, oh, I use it to get out of trouble, or I use it for the short shots or the up shots. But once you get that last leverage out, which you're really good at with your hands anyway, I think you're gonna find that's gonna help you get out of trouble. But man, you do so well with your standing backhand anyway. So it's just funny that I don't see how often that you really, really need it, because you already have the other shot.
Well, hole 1 at Bear Branch pretty much makes me want to throw a forehand every time. I mean, I can do that Annie shot, but it's just, there it is. Throw a forehand. It's just 300 feet, 280, whatever.
Yeah, it forces you. That one is a force. That's a lefty force forehand. There's no doubt about it. Because if not, you're having to work a beautiful backhand shot, which you do that one well, but it is a forehand shot for lefty.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Anyway,
so you're going to be getting out anytime to play. Travis just hit me up. I think he wants us to try to come out tomorrow. I don't know if you got any time tomorrow. If you're driving around, what are you doing?
Tomorrow's great. Perfect.
Okay. Well, let me see what I have to do. And I got to drop off one child for work, so we'll see what that's going on there. But I think it's I pretty much wrapped up what I got to say this evening. You have anything else before we go?
Nope, that's about it.
All right.
War, it's a war on war, it's a war on war, it's a war on war.
All right. It's good to be home.
It was good to have you home. I'm glad that you were safe. I'm glad there was that you got home with no incidents as well, but it looked like y'all had a great time. Hope Presley did as well. I know that that's one reason why you took that road trip.
Yeah, let me just wrap that up. So if anybody's watching, they understand what's going on. The whole trip was pretty much a rite of passage for Presley. It turned into kind of getting him out of town. He was, getting off of a tough breakup, and he needed to get out of town. And then when it rolled around, he was already doing really well at his job at the pet hotel and loving it. So he was missing his animals. He was showing me pictures of his. This is Bella. And he said, for some reason, everybody who has a black and kind of rust color pit bull, they name it Bella. And so he's like, he showed me like 3 different Bella C's, brown, and black. So anyway, so we went and dropped him off in St. Louis. And then I hadn't really planned on playing a lot of disc golf. I really didn't even think about it. I did bring my discs, and then I realized where I was. It's like Loomis told me that you should just do Columbia, and it was perfect because I booked a hotel just by chance. My wife picked it out and used her points, so I was able to save some money there. And got up in the morning and checked out, and I set the GPS, and I was like 3.5 minutes from Harmony Bend where she booked the hotel. I was like, I could have gotten up at 6 and played it and then showered, but anyway, it was so cool. And so I drive down this little back road, and beautifully manicured everything. That's the other thing I didn't say about the course. Maintained, and just knocked it out of the park, so it was a really cool feeling. And once I got there, because I was really not in the frame of mind to play a big boy course. I mean, I'm just out for a ride and something easy. But once I realized what I had in front of me, and a lot of people's favorite, Travis commented on, I think on your link, that it was one of his top 5. I can see that. And I've heard other players say it's probably their favorite. It's got just enough of the elevation, but a lot of big, beautiful canopies.
I just kept going. Every time he sent something, I was like, oh my, how beautiful. I mean, it was just stunning. I was like, that to me is heaven. That's the salvation we go for in disc golf.
Mm-hmm.
But
So back to that other topic, I don't want to get off into it. What did you think about what Loomis said about it being just kind of a little niche sport where we are our own fans? Because, back in the day, the only people that would watch or be a gallery were people that participated in the tournament that just happened to still be there. And they'd swing back and watch the lead card or the final 9 or something. So in essence, he's saying it's just a bigger version of that. It's just still a whole bunch of people that play disc golf going to watch people that play disc golf.
I think that other sports have started with even meager types of people watching, and just to go into it. Something I never was into was skateboarding and bike jumping and all this other stuff. And, who went and watched those guys when they first started? Nobody, except for other skateboarders and bike jumpers. Right. And now it's turned into this big spectacle because money's being put behind it. So he's right in that sense. But I think that, as well as I do, money drives all sports. The eyes will be driven by the money because the advertiser will drive it to the sport itself. So I think that disc golf is one of those sports, as I've always said, it's accessible to everybody. And I believe in the end, if people can watch it, and I think you and I saw that from one of the first events we ever did when we did match play, and Alex's mother told you it was the only time she ever got to watch him play the sport that he loves and how much it meant to her. And then the same thing with Charlie Moore's family. The mother had never been able to see her kids play the game before. And all of a sudden now mom's being able to watch sons and both sons go play. And it brought a tear to my eye because I never really thought of it that way. And if we could do it in that small part and the 2.5 years we've been doing this show, I can only imagine what the outreach of disc golf is going to be 10 years from now. Because like you said, it's not the most accessible sport to watch and film. It is a little difficult to film. We haven't gotten it down perfectly yet because we don't get everybody out there. Not everybody's on that camera. Right now, there's only about 8 to 10 people that they're really filming. But I think that maybe once they kind of turn that corner as well, where they're capturing more of the field, I think you're going to capture more viewers. I think you're going to capture more casual fans because then the friends will watch it, right? Then the friends are going to tune in and go, hey, that's my friend right there. He's number 38 on the disc golf tour. Yeah, he's not the top 5 and he's not the lead card, but guess what? That's him. He just shot that. I think when they get to there, I think disc golf's going to take off.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things. One I wanted to talk about real quick is about money in the sport. You mentioned money. It's all about money. And not to name any names or tell any stories on any specific person. One of them involved a company called LS Discs out of Kansas. And I was talking to my friends about that. I was like, so when Lone Star Disc started coming out, I was like, there's already an LS Disc. And he was like, no, he knows the guy. He's like, no, it doesn't matter to them. They got into skateboards, sales, and they got all kinds of marketing schemes, sales like cool niche sports like disc golf, and disc golf was just one of their things, and they've made millions that. And then I asked him about another friend we have in disc golf. Said, did they sell out to a conglomerate? I'm not going to name the actual company, but he said, yes. I said, how much did he make? He said, millions. Mm-hmm. And so disc golf has created millionaires, and not just the players, all these companies like Griff and, people, Lucky Ace. I mean, those guys are they're jumping into a stream where there's a need, and they're going to do well. And, we should print some discs with Fling Show on it, Chris. What are we waiting on, man? Jim was asking about that. He needs some merch. So
Travis is probably sitting there going, Hold my beer. We have your stamp right now at the shop. We'll stamp
Let's
whatever you
do
want.
Let's do it on a blue bonnet. That's what
Hey,
show
oh,
a
you
blue
know what's
bonnet.
funny? I'm glad you said that. But I've got a 3-pack over there that has the penny putter, the MIDI, and the Mockingbird. And it all has
Nice.
that. It has the Fling Show stamp on it with the stamp of that disc too. So I got 2 of those boxes as
That's
well.
cool. Yeah. And there was somebody asking about that too on a thread. I can't remember exactly where this was, but recommending, how to get started. And I was like, well, I wouldn't recommend throwing a driver, but I would throw a Mockingbird, for a beginner. And
Mhm.
not that it's a beginner disc, but it's just not a big old big wing. It's slow enough. That's a good set. That's a
Yeah.
really good set right there.
I always say understable mid putter. So
I would
something that's
throw,
understable driver, and then get yourself a good MIDI and a good putter. And
yeah,
so I'd
I
go
would
with
put
Blue
the
Bonnet. I'd go with Blue Bonnet. I'd
Texas
go with
Ranger.
I like the Ranger, and I like the MIDI too, but I like the Ranger a little bit better. And then I would throw the Lariat because it's neutral for a slower arm
Definitely.
person.
Yeah, definitely.
But I do understand the Mockingbird as well. But if I was going to start somebody off, those would be the 3 discs. And I definitely wouldn't put them inside of a high-speed driver that's overstable because they would hate disc golf.
Yeah, Larry, definitely Larry. But I like the Mockingbird because they feel like they got a driver in their hand, and it does some amazing things, that
Mhm.
they can learn from.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for
Well,
sure. All right.
anyway, good show, man. I appreciate
You
it.
bet.
Thanks for the montage and the video you played. I missed it for some reason. I missed the first part, so I guess that was. Did you play the video?
I did. I played the video, but don't worry. It's on YouTube right now by itself live, and it's on Facebook underneath the post for tonight's show by itself as well. So you can go
Yeah.
watch them separate, and it's about 4.5 minutes is how long the intro is, but it's got the whole thing on there. And it has your membrane problem thing that you have. You have a memory problem.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. He goes, Travis, I'm keeping that. That's my memory.
I'm keeping
You
my
ain't
memory.
taking it.
Keeping my memory, damn
All right.
it.
All right. Well, let me find out what the plan is tomorrow. But if I can, I'm gonna head out there and see Travis as well. But I know the earlier the better because it's just too hot.
Perfect. That's perfect because I don't have any plans. Just give me a call.
Sounds good. Hey, throw something in the air, guys. Y'all go play some disc golf. Hey, me, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And until then, we got to see Mikey.